This is Patti Boo Rae.
Chatti Patti.
Welcome to Chatti Patti, a podcast from Curious Arts, where every episode we part the sea of a creative mind that makes me say, "Holy Moses." I'm your host, Patti Boo Rae, and today I'm delighted to be joined by Catrina McHugh. Catrina McHugh is the artistic director, lead facilitator, and playwright at Open Clasp. Catrina's expertise lies in working with women and writing in response. She's dedicated her professional life to making groundbreaking theater that matters and changes lives for the better. Her philosophy is embedded into the DNA of Open Clasp, which seeks to change the world one play at a time. Catrina's work has been met with widespread critical acclaim. Key Change won the Carol Tambor Best of Edinburgh Award in 2015 and was named a New York Times Critics' Pick when the show transferred off Broadway in 2016. Catrina was honored with an MBE for services to disadvantaged women through theater in 2017 and received an honorary doctorate in 2024 from Newcastle University. Catrina McHugh, welcome to Chatti Patti.
Wow.
Thank you so much for being here today. Catrina, I would like to know, obviously you have had a quite an extensive and one could say prolific career. And I want to know what makes you tick, by which I mean what for you sustains a creative practice over time.
I think what makes me tick is injustice. I mean, I'm driven by injustice. So that's what kind of gets me thinking what's next, what we should be looking at, like working with groups of women in rooms, in spaces, listening to their lived experiences, watching their strength and their courage and watching how they are with each other. All of those things are totally inspiring to then make work. And I sometimes think, because I'm 62 this year, so sometimes...
Congratulations.
I'm in that kind of area where we're all this kind of age thinking about what happens next and when do you retire and how does all that work. And I don't know what that would look like because I care. And it's my activism is through the arts. And that's kind of, it's like how I feel like I can make a change. So changing the wheels one play at a time, like I mean it. Do you know what I mean? And we mean it as a theatre company. And we see that change happen in spaces, in rooms with women, when we're in with audiences, even when we're training the police.
It seems to me in my limited experience that language is being used a lot more in the arts in general, and that funding priorities have shifted towards activism and social justice. Have you felt that Open Clasp's relationship to the sector has changed as that language has evolved?
Lynn Gardner, did an interview with Lynn Gardner for the stage, and she said in the interview, the quote that she uses, that we were, long before this was kind of the words that people use now, we were way back then doing co-creation, like real co-creation, real co-producing, and we had always been like that. And we used to be called counterculture, like as an organisation. And I think, like I have a new member of staff started today, and she was then talking about how we get funded and I was going, we're not funding led. We lead with what we want to look at. And I suppose other people might use the same words or are more encouraged to be more engaged with communities. And obviously there has been a big push with the Arts Council saying, and which is difficult, I think, for buildings. They would say it's difficult, or it can be difficult for them to prove that they're engaging with communities when the capitalist model is them about making money and the seats and the franchises. And, so it kind of jars with them. But with us, it's normal for us. This is the way we would work. And we're not working with other people. We're not othering as an organisation. We've all got lived experiences too. If other people are saying they're changing the wheels one play at a time, or they're changing things with their work, or they're activists, good. As long as they are being activists, but it's not mine to judge either. I think I think it's good that people are using and celebrating the arts. Celebrating the arts is a way to make change happen. It's like Mr. Bates faces the post office. You go, wow, look what they did. And then I'm going to London to see this play called Punch, which this lad had been punched and killed on this day, and that production has been cited and in courts with judges, and you just go, wow, look how powerful that is. And I have a seat on the Reduce and Reoffending Advisory Board to the government with the arts seat, and I've had that position for a year. Not a position I actually wanted to have, because it's very like policy, and it's, for me, you're at the big tables with people, and I was going, I'm a practitioner, but my job is to, on behalf of everybody else who delivers arts within the criminal justice system, is to argue how valuable arts is for people who are inside prison or people who are involved in the criminal justice system. So I think about it a lot and go, how do you articulate how powerful it is? And because I see it in the company's work, and I think it should be, and it should be centre stage everywhere. So I'm proud of what we've done, and I hope if other people feel that, as long as they feel like it's true to them, do you know what I mean? And they're not feeling like they're fit in a box.
I wonder, could you tell our readers a little bit about Open Clasp? You work extensively, but not exclusively, with prison populations. Is that right?
Communities of women. I mean, over the past 10 years, we've been within the criminal justice system. So we've been working inside prison, which we got a commission for back, which with the play Key Change that won the big award. It was lovely to hear you say Carol Tamber's name, who kind of was the person that's the Carol Tamber Best of Edinburgh Award, because you'd really love her. She's just lovely, and she's one of our patrons now. So I think in the last 10 years, it's been the criminal justice system from Key Change forward. And this is the one, because it was filmed by the BBC. So everything after that
was Key Change.
Was filmed by the BBC, then it was streamed across the wheel, 35 countries, and it was massive for us to do, and it really elevated the company. At that point, we were wanting to be national, so we could ensure that women's voices were heard on that kind of level, and to help make that change happen. We were a very regional theatre company at the time. We were working with Frantic Assembly at the time, and we were kind of going, working with young women and going, right, this is how we're going to do it, planning it all out. And then Key Change came along as a small project, then elevated us to this kind of on this international stage, and kind of propelled us in that. And our commitment then was to always with communities of women in prison. So even if the women who made Key Change left the prison, we always then wanted to have, and not just be a one project that we'd ever done, and isn't that great, this successful. We went, right, that Key Change can do all of those things, but let's go back to the prison. So we went back and we made Sugar with the women in prison. Then we made with Don't Forget the Beards with one of the co-creators.
Great title. Absolutely love that.
And Big Cheryl, which we call Big Cheryl, who was released from prison. It's a play about her and her daughter. And I called it Roses. And she was all, oh no. She was all, that's not. She was all like, and she told this whole story about when she got sentenced for, I think she got 4 years in the original, when her sentence happened. And she went to her daughter, don't forget to feed the birds. And that was the last thing she said, because she was really into birds and into kind of feeding things and looking after nature. And so that, then the play became Don't Forget the Birds, but Don't Forget to Feed the Birds is actually what she was talking about. So we kind of did all of this work. We've gone back and forward, and we've had other commissions in that period to train police. But before that, we started in 1998, and it's very much, I think sometimes people don't really understand how we work, and we do. The process to create a show is so important. It's like facilitators who facilitate those workshops are key to making everything happen. The writing, the play happens way down there, and we kind of created a play about mothers and daughters to begin with. We then, in response to that, survivors of domestic violence said, can you make a play like that? Because it was funny, it was popular, it involved audience participation, and it was owned by the women in the communities we worked with back in the day. So then we created Fallen Knives and Run Around Wives. So we created that, and it was set at Christmas and New Year, and these women were getting ready for an ABBA tribute in the second act. Everything's very camp as well, and we all dressed up as ABBA, and I was an actor for a good period of the time, maybe about 8-9 years with the company. So we would write and act and do everything, drive the van, pack the van, all those types of things.
Yeah.
But we did Fallen Knives and Run Around Wives, and that was a real success. And then we consulted with the community, did Racism Against People Seeking Asylum, but always funny, always popular, always heartfelt, always kind of real, lots of different stories with young women, older women, dementia units. So there's a whole load of work before Key Change that people maybe don't know about. Do you know what I mean? So we're known as this now, but that's not what we've always done, but we always get pulled back to the prison as well.
I think it's really important for people to realize that, if you are an artist and you have ambitions of making community-led work or work that engages with communities in which you're working, that is great. And also that didn't happen overnight for you. It wasn't like you decided to make a show to engage people in this way.
Yeah.
It was years of what we would call engagement, I guess, but it's actually just a kind of like day-to-day building up of those relationships and discovering ways of working that then when the time came, you were ready. Not to be nosy, but how did you resource that process? Like, how have you built the company over time?
So we set up as a company, and we set up with a management committee, and then we were a company limited by guarantee, then we were a charity, and then we were project to project funded till 2012. So sometimes when you say that in terms of like, you know, like we only became part of the Arts Council National Portfolio of Organisations in 2012. We had been project to project funded till, so what's that, 14 years that way. So it's kind of like half and half now that we've been part of the Arts Council National Portfolio of Organisations in this part. But it was a lot, and there was many years we would be all, have we got enough money? Are we going to close? What should we do? You know, and now we've got a team of 6 in the organisation, one's part-time. Like I said, it was kind of year on year on. When the Arts Council, you know, because it used to be a regularly funded, everybody, and you couldn't get into that club. And then when they made it the National Portfolio of Organisations time in 2012, whatever, I was like, the Arts Council don't fund us, I'm closing the company, because we should be funded. And everyone can tell the story of Open Clasp through different lenses. You know, I've got a joint chief exec now, and she would maybe say something different, but I would go, if the Arts Council didn't fund us, I don't know how we would survive. You know, we've just got a big grant from the Comic Relief, which is huge for us to get over the next 4 years, equivalent to what we would get the Arts Council, or kind of around the same.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, but I kind of, you know, I think the Arts Council should support the company, and I think we do deliver, and we deliver really high, you know, we've kind of developed our craft over the years with the teams that come in. I mean, the plays are brilliant, and I have a role to play, but there's many people involved in making the productions what they are. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But when you start, well, obviously when we start chatting what drives you, it is that injustice. It is that, well, where do we need to look? What do we need to, where do we need to be next? Or what is anyone asking us to kind of look at? You're led by what you want to do rather than led by the funding, I suppose.
Katrina, you said that if you were a beverage, you would be fizz. And I'm just wondering why.
Oh, I didn't realise the question was if you were a beverage. I was sort of thinking,
you just told me your favorite.
Yeah, just what you like to drink. But also, if it was, I would then go, because it's about, well, champagne for me is about fun. It's about celebrations. It's high. You know, you're in a joyful moment, I think, with champagne. And I like, you know, you can get a bottle of champagne for tenner now, and I then go, I can drink champagne rather than cava now, or Prosecco. If I wanted to drink champagne, then I can. And I like this, and I like the glasses. The glasses are lovely.
I love these glasses.
And the other thing was, when I met my wife, I was 29 and she was 26. And I think that's the first time I ever drank out of champagne glasses, and it was Babycham.
Wow.
And still to this day we've got the glasses, the Babycham glasses. And I thought I was going, this is brilliant, because she had all that swagger about her. So I was all, oh, that's just brilliant. And so I love that too. And she, in our garden, we have, sounds very extravagant, but we've got bottles of Bollinger in the garden as ornaments kind of around the garden.
Incredible.
Can I say that?
Incredible.
No, but we have. But, you know, I'm nearly 62. You know, if I thought about when I'd first done anything and drank really good champagne, it's probably in the last 10 years as well.
Well, this is not good champagne. This is Sainsbury's Taste the Difference Prosecco. But
nice.
And only drink as much as you want, because we're recording at quite an hour of the
oh my God, and I'm not. Cheers.
Cheers.
And I'm not driving.
Oh wow.
Oh, brilliant.
Oh my God.
So I can drink
as
it.
much as you like.
Them glasses are gorgeous.
Oh, delicious.
Oh well, this is nice.
You've been with your wife for 32 years, is that right? And we have only had marriage equality in the UK for about half that time. I have kind of come of age in an era where I think we felt like we could take a lot of things for granted. And right now, especially in the States where I'm from, it's feeling less and less that way.
Yeah.
So I wonder if you have any advice or even just perspective to offer a younger LGBT person as someone who's experiencing that pushback for the first time and finding it quite difficult.
I mean, we've just done a project with sex workers across the world, and one of the things, and a lot of sex workers are queer, and the biggest thing I learned from that project is to be an ally. You know, lots of sex workers are allies. They stand with other people who are experiencing injustice. And then, you know, there was lots of conversations about Pride in Dublin. One of the first sex workers I'd worked with, she told me this story about being on the bridge in Dublin, people involved in sex work, people who were threatened with being deported, seeking asylum, people who had a lot to lose, and they were stood on the bridge fighting for what Pride should be, and people were walking in Pride, and whether you like police or you police forces or don't like police, the police were leading the march. Mm-hmm. Now, for a lot of people, the police force as an institution can cause fear. They are people who then the next day might be raiding your home, you might be being deported. That, you know, until we sort that out, why are they on the Pride March? So they talked about, you know, this is not where we're going to be on the bridge, because like if marching is around equality, but it's only equality for the gays, then that's not right, because that's not why we have Pride. It's not where it came from. You know, it's rooted in fighting against violence against the LGBT communities, mm-hmm. you know, and others. So it's kind of, I think the advice I would be is don't be isolated. Look left and right. Look who else is experiencing that. I mean, God, I could rant a lot. I mean, there's a lot of people who are anti-trans and they're lesbian, and then they are saying the same things as what Trump is saying. And I just go, well, what does that feel like when you're sitting at home and you feel so right in your world and you're saying the same things as somebody like Donald Trump? Mm-hmm. How is that? What does that feel like? Personally, this is my own opinion.
Well, we're here to hear your opinion.
And maybe I'll get a lot of backlash, but I don't care. But if people turn around and, you know, they're anti-trans and they're anti, you know, decriminalisation of sex work, and you just kind of go, you need to get out of the comfort of your living armchair, and you need to look left and right, and you need to be, I would go, but that's where I sit, that's my lane.
No, of course.
Be political, because I think the worst thing we can ever feel is overwhelmed if we feel alone. You know, when I was young, I mean, I would be on the Section 28 marches, you know, and you would all be out. Now, if you look a little bit at the social media, you can see people in America are out. They're out on the streets and they're protesting. And I think you get strength from being around other people who are allies mm-hmm. with yourself. And we fight for a better world together.
Well, I was going to ask you what grinds your gears and what injustice is motivating you at the moment, but it sounds like
a lot.
A lot.
Yeah.
But there's a lot to get your gears ground about too.
Of course. And I think the thing about the news at the minute, and I think everyone's mental health, you've got to measure yourself, have a bit of champagne. You've got to have fun, listen to some music, dance a bit. You've got to sit with your friends and have a laugh. Obviously, I'm talking about big things as well. But I need that balance of life, because it is quite overwhelming. But I know I live in the comfort of, I'm a white woman. I kind of live in the comfort of the world I live in. It's a lot harder for other people as well.
But also, you know, if you have a bit more to give because, you know, for that reason, I think, like, why not?
Exactly.
Give it?
Yeah.
Open Clasp obviously works with disadvantaged women, but you have, as far as I can tell, for, you know, ever, that has included trans women and non-binary people, and it's not an organization that seeks to fence off who is allowed in that category. Was that kind of a conscious stance that you took at some point, or did it happen quite naturally and then you had to kind of double down because you got pushback?
Probably a bit of that. So I think quite like, I was given a talk recently, and then somebody turned around and said, how do you think your vulnerable women will feel about a man who dresses up as a woman and da-da-da? And I didn't know what she was talking about. And she was talking about a case that I really didn't know about. And then I was then going, and this was at the end of the talk, and she'd done that. It was great. It was lovely, lovely, lovely. But then came with this, and she said a name. And then as soon as she said a name, I went, I know her name, because I know she's anti-trans as well. I know the truth of the world that I live in. And I work, and I've always worked with communities of women. If trans women are in that community, they're in that community. So that's who I work with. I work with trans men. I work in the prison, and sometimes there's trans men there and there's trans women there. And then I work with them. And in my family, I have trans people. So then I kind of go, I can speak with authority about what I see and what I know. So where people turn around and you're a women's organisation, so therefore that's under threat. Now, my wife, she runs a women's organisation, and we both go, it's never been a threat, and it's not a threat. And all the communities when we work with are inclusive of the communities that they have. Everybody's in, because that's the reality of people's lives. Your lives are inclusive of people. That's why I mean the people who don't have any kind of diversity in their lives are sitting in a very siloed position, and they go, but that's not my reality. We got trolled on social media. When was that? What was that for? Oh, it was somebody did their pronouns. In the organisation, they had their pronouns on their email.
Right.
And we'd invited everybody to our AGM, and we go, it's women only. And then somebody went, I can see you're using pronouns. And then we got backlash from it. And then people were on the Twitter going, call yourself a women's organisation. And I was going, oh my God, imagine. But see, I go back to being a kid and I go, okay, you and me, let's have this out right now. Let's do face to face. Don't do it on the Twitter. Show me who are you, kind of stuff. But obviously we have a PRO with us who then just goes, we have to just make it go. You turn your back on it and you make it, and you do whatever you do, which is the legal stuff to do with the Twitter. But the reality of our work is what we have right in front of us. When we work inside prisons, it's that, we do the work. Do you know what I mean? And we have every right to say what it is and include whoever we want to include in it, whoever the women want to include in it as well.
I wonder, do you have a particular project that you're proudest of?
I love talking about key change.
Talk about key change.
I love talking about the win because it was a small project that was kind of not the big project we were working on. And I think we were just intensely working inside the prison, and that's like nobody knows what you're doing. You're inside and you're with the women. And my best places, I love being in rooms with. We play, we have a laugh, we sing, we create, we talk. So that in itself is a great journey. Then we rehearsed with the women key change so they could perform it themselves with our actors. And I had the best team. The best director, Laura Linda, was there. Jess Johnson, Christina Dawson, Judy Yale. I had people in the workshops that I just love working with, and I love the women. And then we had a real laugh, and it was challenging. The governor didn't like the piece, and he was all, I don't like it. And he was all,
really?
But oh no, he didn't. No, he went, called me to his office, and I went, oh, so there's the script. And the women were going, oh, it's brilliant. And he was going, no, I don't like it. I don't like how your this play is capturing the prison because of the women's lens, the women's view of the prison. And so and I said, come and see the women in the chapel, just see them work, and they're brilliant. And he'd come in and he was just sitting with his head in his hands because it was about drug, trading drug, grafting inside the prison. And he was all like, in the public backlash was going to be, could potentially be wrong. We had to endorse it to let it go to the male prison estate because that was part of the deal, part of the brief.
Sure.
So, and actually he did endorse it. He's not a governor anymore, but me and him met each other on the outside at one point later on, about a year or two after the win of the big awards. But then we taught it to the male estate, and I love that as well. I love being with the fellas inside all the different prisons that we went to, and we were still in touch with one of the prisons depots, so we still go in there, part of our touring network. And then at the win, the win was like, I'm working class. I left school at 16. My life was not expected to be what my life is. My life was shorthand typist, marry a bloke, live a little life. Do you know what I mean? My brothers were all in the army. Their lives were much bigger than my life. Do you know what I mean? And then the next minute we're on stage and we win and we're going to New York. And then we were in New York. And then we were but we gathered with activists in New York. And then we were joined by Evan Stark, who coined the phrase coercive controlling behaviours. He was on the stage with us.
Wow.
And he was brilliant. He passed last year. And we went into women's prison when we were over there. I love telling the story. And then we come back and it was the Houses of Parliament. Then we did a national tour. Then it was film. We did everything. Do you know what I mean? Achieved everything. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes I would go, when you've had such a big win like that, you go, what? Will we do that again?
Yeah, what next?
What do we do? When we've got other wins. Obviously, we've been on the BBC iPlay with Wake and, and there are other wins. And Mycelia's just has been this massive international project. But to win the prize was like just incredible for everybody. And that team who worked on it, they were people who'd been cutting the cloth for years. Do you know what I mean? And they had never had that win either. So for all of us, it was so massive.
So I'm curious about your relationship as a company with prisons and with law enforcement, because those will end up being quite long-term relationships in some cases, I assume. And also clearly now you have some expertise that you are offering training back to law enforcement. What is that like? How do you navigate that relationship?
That was a commission.
Right.
So it started with a commission to been 10 years now since we made Rattlesnake, to create a piece of theatre based on the research, which I did interviews with women who'd experienced coercive controlling behaviours, make the show, train the officers. And the way we work with the women to make theatre, we just did the opposite. So we made the play, the women performed it, the actors. Now I think, oh God, love it, they did it. They performed, and then we go, we're going to have a rest, cup of tea, then we go back in, then we train the officers. And then we made films of it in the end. So the actors didn't have to do all that work. But in 2015, we kind of did it that way, and the officers got up on their feet and worked creatively. So we put them into the shoes of the women in the piece, the perpetrator, the children, and we also, it was like when we're making work with the women, we made it a safe environment for them so they could talk about whatever they wanted to talk about. Because change won't happen unless they then have a moment to go. So if they ask the question, go like, I think he's a perpetrator because he was a victim himself when he was little. And then you go, okay, so let's look at that. Like, let's undo it. Or why did she go back? Why did she not leave? Even though they've seen the piece and understand it, they can undo it, and they can do it through drama. So they can put it up on its feet, and then they can observe themselves or other officers or the children or the women, and doing that creative response, being up on its feet with no answer other than we learn to support the conversation and put facts in and support it. But they are the experts in what they're doing as well. And for them, they don't ever get training like that. They get PowerPoint, or they get, they fill it in on the laptop. This was about being able to really think, and the Durham Force were just brilliant. And then we developed that piece, included a family court scene, toured it, and then we filmed it. Then we trained the Cleveland police, and I found that really hard.
Cleveland, Ohio?
No, Cleveland in the northeast.
Oh, that makes a lot more sense.
But we trained much more. We trained 2,000 officers, 1,600 officers.
And was it harder just mostly because of the sheer volume, or were there?
Sheer volume. So we were down there 2 days a week, 30 officers in a room, bulletproof vest, and also harder because obviously getting recorded, but they were a harder force.
Sure.
They were a harder force. The patriarchy was stronger. And as a theatre company, we're really still doing an Open Clasp brand of training. So we are challenging the patriarchy. We are challenging lots of things within that room in a way that's still supporting that conversation.
Of course. But
it was a harder one. It kind of burnt me a bit, that one. And we still do training with police, but at the minute I don't do that myself.
I know that you said that anger motivates you, and maybe I should just take you at your word, but I just can't believe that a person can sustain a career and a life just burning anger as their primary fuel, because there's fumes, it builds up. So what else is there to kind of hold you through more difficult projects or more difficult times?
So the wife, the wife, and what we do, we love life together. Do you know what I mean? We've been together a long time. Just become a nana. Our son's just had a baba. So
congratulations.
So we're nanas now. Friends. But my community of people are like me, and my son, our son, is like this. We would have conversation. He came over the weekend, and we start chatting about everything. And he's an ally, and he's very political. So I suppose in that respect, you like talking about the world, and it's comfortable to be someone who talks about politics. But I need to go on holiday, and I go to Lesbos I go for 3.5 weeks to 4 weeks. I go to Lesbos, and I just go there, and then I breathe out, and I swim, and then I laugh. I do a lot of stuff to counter, not on purpose, but I do a lot of stuff. But also the thing is about what keeps you going is the hope. Because I think it is hard, the world that we live in at the minute. With the production we're doing at the minute, it's called Rupture, made with incarcerated mothers who've had their children removed or at risk of. And we worked with the women, and it was the end of 22, so it was before the change in government. And it was the first time we're doing this exercise about where we are now, where we are in the future. And I caught myself and went, I'm asking these women to do this because it's like the theory of change. It's like strategy for change is what we would call it. So, and you're kind of thinking about what you need to do, or we need to do, what the world needs to do, what's the change, and then you all do the change. And it's, it's normally a very uplifting thing. And I was I'm asking them to do something, and actually nothing's changing in prison because there's loads of research, loads of reviews, loads of stuff going on, and there's no change. And now I'm 10 years in and out of prison, and I'm asking them to do something that's not real. And I felt it really felt it, and I went, oh, this is a horrible feeling. And then they went for the break, and then we were doing some prep for the bridge. And then I put down, to be in prison cost £50,000. To be in prison was one of the stepping stones. to kind of go, so what, if that's the reality of it, say, and the women came back and went, God, is that how much it costs for me to be in prison? And then I was like, oh, boom, there we are. Because then that's about conscious race and that's about politics.
Right.
That's about, so the bigger system, as working class women, which majority of people are colour people in care, you then go. So then I kind of got it back. So that lack of hope bubbled a little bit. And I went, oh, look. And now I feel like I'm getting old and I feel a bit like, oh, I've been here. Oh, yeah, no, I've heard this. Oh, yeah, okay. So I'm now feel like I'm an old person going, oh, nothing, this government, yeah, they said that last time. I'm in a world where I go, like, how much is this real and how much is anyone going to change or not change? I don't know. I think you just keep fighting, keep drinking the champagne.
You have been in the Northeast for quite a while, but you're from Liverpool originally. Mm-hmm. You've got a little bit of Northern Irish flavor in there. What made you stay in the Northeast? Once, because you came to study, is that right? And then... No,
love. So I met wife Huffty. I met her. My mum died, and I was really close to my mum. I had a son. I was with another woman. We had a son and a daughter at the same time. We were like the lesbians that everyone went, oh, you're kidding me. We both got pregnant at the same time. Everyone was all like, what on earth are they thinking? And then Declan was born 3 months before Vinny was born. And then we were both two women trying to raise two babies. And then my mum died. And I was really close to my mum. So it was I was 29, and it was just, it was awful. It was like a 3 month, there she was, and then she was. And then so everything got turned really upside down and it was really difficult. And then in the middle of all the grief, I met Huffty. And Huffty, and I'd broken up with the woman we were with, but we were still living together because we lived in, as lesbians do, we lived in a big commune with loads of lesbians and loads of kids kind of. And we were part of that generation we were very fortunate. I was with lots of women who wanted to have children and we all had kids through donors and we all had. And we've got like a big... my son is the only boy. There's loads of girls and he's the only boy, and they all grew together. So we lived in this mad moment, and then I met Huffty, and then me and Carol and Vinny and Declan were all going to move up to Newcastle because we thought this is a nicer place, because I was living in Manchester. Well, this would be a great place to raise the kids. But then only I came up with Vinny, and then me and Huffty were together, and then I thought it was just a great place to live. But I was in love with Huffty as well, so then I stayed.
Who's from here?
She's from, yeah. She's from here, and then she would never move. She's a Geordie, and this is her home. And I love Newcastle. It's right next to the coast. It's a city. I love the community. I had a baby, and it was hard, and I was a bit poor. I didn't have much and stuff. And then I went to university because he was little, and I went, oh, I'll do that. And then I went, oh, look, this is great. And drama again. And this is good to do. Never thinking Open Clasp would happen, and then Open Clasp happened.
What are you looking forward to?
In the summer, I'm going to Lesbos.
Oh, God.
I'm going to Lesbos. And then I'm in a band called the Camp Vamp.
Tell us about the Camp Vamps, because I'm very curious about the Camp Vamps. How long has this been around?
So I've been with the band since 1997. So we're old now. And then you kind of go, so we're an old lesbian
longer
band.
Than I've been alive.
Well, there you are. Look, we're old now. And we still drag up. We don't, my biggest thing is if you see the Camp Vamps, especially if it clashes with Wig, I go, oh, please just don't see me in the two different ways, because it's a different thing. Do you know what I mean? It's a different thing that's happening on the stage. It's a bit sexy. It's all these things that we are, and a bit mad. I used to watch the Camp Vamps and go, oh my God, they're brilliant. And then I was asked to join the Camp Vamps, and I did it as part because I went back to university in the early 30s. That's where Open Clasp came from. Right. Part of my second year, I did for the module, I did it to join the band. But now I go, how mad was that? And then I never left.
Well, you joined the band as
part of a module at university. Yeah,
what
performance.
Oh, right.
I know.
Good for you. And are they kind of a Northeast institution?
Yeah, but the Camp Vamps, if you think about what's your outlet, that's the outlet. And we're all from all different... If we're on stage, everyone's like, oh my God, they're brilliant. When we get off stage, no one knows who we are.
Incredible.
Nobody knows.
Oh, that's so special though.
And they just don't know. And we just walk around. And there's all kinds in there. There's a professor in there. there's different people from different walks, but real musicians. I sing, but I'm like an optical illusion. I look like I'm really singing, and I look like I'm Ollie, but I'm not. There's other people in that band.
Singing.
I am singing, but there's other people with much better voices than me. I just look like, if people go, she's the lead singer, and I go, I'm not. With other
But
singers.
you have a lead singer presence.
I have a presence,
lead singer energy.
Performance. Yes, I'm quite big on stage.
Hello? I wish I would have loved to talk to you more about being an artistic director, playwright. I think that's so interesting.
It's unusual.
I should have asked.
I didn't.
I'm kicking myself.
So I'm an artistic director, which is different from other artistic directors. I'm not a director, I'm a writer. So the intellectual property stays with the company. So I don't own which is politically right, because that means that anybody who works for the company, or when we co-create, they know that their stories are owned by the company. So when I think that is a good thing to think about for the future, that you don't, I mean, we can write things into contracts, so writers can't, then go, oh, I've worked with this group and it's brilliant, I'm going to take it off now and go here, because that's a tricky situation to be in.
So interesting.
It's an unusual, and I didn't realise how unusual it was until the intellectual property issue came up.
And then all of a sudden you're like, whoa, quite complicated,
it's not normal.
Because
I'm part of the Writers Guild. So then I got the Writers Guild because obviously then you get into trade union wise, you have to then go, is this okay? And make sure you're not losing any rights that you should have. My biggest thing is what happens if the company closes? So if for whatever, where does it all sit there? Because, there was at one point way back when there was a whole, well, then we give the assets to somebody, like another charity. And I was like, oh, I don't think so. I don't think that's what's going to happen. So all of our work's getting archived with Newcastle University. So we've just gifted it to when I got the honorary last year.
That's great.
So, and I like that. And then I go, apart from, you just need to be mindful that it doesn't sit in the archive, and then people who've got the opportunity to get PhDs, then look at the working class voices work, and then make their PhD. So it's about how you make the archive. So we've got, where we sit in Western Women Girls, there's a library. So there's a library just being built by the women in there, and we have a shelf in that library. So I'm hoping that there's a link between, I'm working class, I live in the West End of Newcastle.
Yeah.
I go to the library, I see this, which they know us anyway, and then they can go back and do their own research project. So we just need to be careful about who owns it, which we're stepping with the university about it.
This is really fascinating and inspiring to me. Thank you very much.
No, thank you.
I know we do have to actually stop, but I just want to keep talking.
And you would like my wife Huffty as well, which I didn't say because it wasn't on the thing, but you may or may not know it, but she was the first lesbian comedian on national TV. So
I didn't know that.
Yes. So she'd be more interested than me. She's like, so she became, when we first got together, she auditioned for a production called The Word back in the day. And then she got it. So in the moment when I moved to Newcastle, she became famous. So we got together, and then she became famous, and she was on national TV, and our son was little. So you imagine in them days, we had paparazzi look at us on the beach, and we were like just a young couple. And then she had this fame and was in all the papers. Like we would go anywhere in Newcastle, and everybody, I mean, she hated it, and we both did. None of the fame was something that she ever wanted.
TV was something different back then too. Like everyone, and it was all there. Like It
was awful. I mean,
fame was concentrated in TV because you didn't have all these other ways to.
It was really, and it was because it was a big, like the Tube. It was like that. So it was that kind of trashy TV on a Friday night with loads of big bands. So she met really famous people, like Grace Jones, met really famous people. But what came with that was, but she was a youth worker then, and she runs Western Women and Girls Centre. So she's 40 years running that centre. People now, and did over the years, then go, can I interview you word first and the centre? And she was going, no, everything has to be about the centre. And the centre's brilliant. I mean, what she does, the work that all them women, and we work in partnership with them all the time.
Wow, I actually feel like I could talk to you all day about this. I feel like I have so much to learn, and I'm so grateful for you being here and sharing everything you've shared in the time that we've had. Where can we find you? If people want to stay up to date with you and Open Clasp.
So the website. Okay. So the website's getting done up at the minute, but the website is where you go. And in the olden days, you go www. But the website openclasp.org, whatever it is where you can sort of see what's on and join our mailing list. See what's on. We have all regular newsletters. Come and see the shows. If you hear of the company's work, and come and see. Join the post-show panels. Join the conversations. And we are going to apply for reinvestment to the Arts Council, which everybody has to do. So that's come out this year really quick. So we have to apply for that. If we get it, then we continue as an organisation in the North East. And I do think the North East needs a women's theatre company still. It should be based, I think, where we're based in the West End of Newcastle, and it should continue with that ownership from the people who've made the work. Should own it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for listening or watching, as the case may be. Thank you so much.
Thank
Catrina.
you.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
Back at you. I've loved it too. Been very relaxed. Thank you for the champagne.
Oh,
that
my
was
pleasure.
Such a treat. Imagine that. I'm so pleased I didn't drive.
Chatti Patti is a podcast from Curious Arts, hosted by me, Patti Boo Rae. The show is edited and recorded by TJmov. TJmov also designed our logo. Production assistance from Max Easter and Rayanne Bose. To see more about what Curious Arts is up to, go to their website, curiousarts.org.uk, or follow them on Instagram at curious_arts. To get more from me, follow me on Instagram @_Patti Boo. Thanks, y'all. Chatti Patti.